All right, good night, good evening, everybody. I'm Nicole. I'm the Vice President for Pamoja Community Investment Fund Development Cooperative. We are a cooperative, collective group of African descendants who have decided to pursue group economics um, with the end goal of ownership and also financial education. So tonight is very exciting because we have two young brothers who have joined us, Mr. Chambers and Mr. Brown from Checks Over Strikes, who are here to talk to us about credit, which is super important. Many of us, well, I can speak for myself, but I know that I would have needed their advice some years ago when I was entering university and bombarded by the tables of, BMO and other credit providers who, tell you, you need those textbooks. And you sign up and you get the credit, and then you spend that money buying so many different things, not realizing that you will have to pay that money back, and if you don't, then you'll owe more money than what you borrowed. So we're really glad to have them here tonight. I'm hoping some of you guys have your young people here to watch this and listen, because definitely our young people do need to know about credit. Um, right now, just a little bit more about Pamoja. We are embarking on purchasing farmland together as a collective. We're also endeavoring to purchase land to build a community as well. That is one of our main goals. But for now, we're going to take it in stride and see what opportunities come our way. So if you are interested, please connect with us, info@pcif.ca, and we can give you some more information on what we're doing. So in the past, we've had various seminars, webinars. We want to continue this thread of educating our people. We've done healthcare with Dr. McKenzie. We've done cooperative partnerships with Mrs. Scarrett, home ownership with Miss Johnson. And then we did the power of economics with Mrs. Sawyers. And tonight, as I mentioned, we're going to do credit, how to get it, how to grow it, and how to fix it, and everything in between. And that's going to be with Dean Chambers and Craig Brown. I'll give a short little snippet of what I know about them, and then I'll let them introduce themselves. Mr. Chambers, um, was sideswiped by a job loss and turned that into a victory by pursuing entrepreneurship. We have Mr. Brown, who came to the revelation that he was going to use the struggles of being, or being brought up in the inner city to, instead of letting it be a stumbling block, put it that way, he let that be some stairs for him to be able to climb up the ladder of entrepreneurship. So we're so happy to have you guys here tonight, and I'll let you guys take it away and introduce yourselves to the group.
No problem.
Thank you, Nicole. Really appreciate that for the lovely introduction. So as she said, I'm Dean Chambers, and this is my partner, Craig Brown. So we're Checks Over Strikes. We started this company a year ago because we seen there was a high demand for financial literacy. We were approached by 7 young individuals who wanted to invest in a property. And I had the idea to write a book about financial literacy. So we said, you know what, let's test them out and see what they know about financial literacy. And lo and behold, their knowledge was lacking. So we said, all right, let's use them to build a foundation for our book. So we sat them down just before the pandemic started. Every month we were meeting with them, correct?
Yeah, every month.
Yeah, every month we were meeting with them. And as we were providing them the information, they were coming back with everything that we were asking them for. So we're like, all right, this is perfect. So what we're telling them is actually working, right? So they're able to obtain their credit scores. They all had amazing credit scores. From the credit scores, they were able to obtain lines of credits where they started to invest, and they all mutually came together and opened a business together. They were able to gross $40,000 collectively with their business that they started last year during the pandemic. Between me and Craig, we wrote a book called Don't Be a Waste, the Financial Literacy Guide. We'll post all our information at the end so you guys can get into that information. And we also launched a course that's an extension of the book with a bonus package, which is narrated by Jason Allen John, which is the mortgage broker we work with, on first-time home buyers and investing into properties. Craig, did I miss it or anything?
No, you nailed it.
Yeah, so we're excited to be here today to talk about credit because credit is something, as Nicole said, nobody taught her that. We didn't learn it either. We kind of just, for me, I was like on the better spectrum of things where I kind of seen it like, okay, this is not my money, so I didn't really use it the way everybody did. But Craig, on the other hand, used it like, oh, free money? All right, let me go spend this. And then what happened? He ended up not knowing, understanding how credit works, because why? He didn't know what he didn't know. So he ended up with bad credit. Lo and behold, when he wanted to purchase, sorry, Craig, I'm just telling your story, but
yeah, go ahead.
Lo and behold, when he wanted to purchase a home, he found that he had bad credit. And luckily his wife had good credit. So Craig had to literally build back up his credit in order to get the house that he wanted with his wife's, his first home, right? So for me, it's kind of, I learned about credit. I didn't use it, but I learned the hard way about it, where it's like I didn't know I could use it to my advantage. I could use other people's monies, i.e. the bank, and get loans and do XYZ with it, right? So these are things that we kind of struggled. We had to go through the struggle to learn, right? So we said, you know what? Let's pave the way for other people. And since we learned from our mistakes, let's make sure other people don't make those mistakes. And they don't have to go through the struggles of what we went through, right? It's kind of like, here's a shortcut to life. Like, don't go through the bad and just to get to the good, right? Here's the good. Don't worry about the bad. This is how you avoid the bad. So that's why we're here today, to have a presentation. We do ask if people can just show their pretty faces and their pearly white smiles. We like to see faces. We like to engage with our community because we just don't want to be looking at each other, right? I see Craig all the time. So we just ask people to turn on their cameras. If you do have questions, Craig will be more active in the chat. I will be more, I just kind of see faces, or if I see the hands up, I'll answer. Nicole, have you given me access to share my screen as of yet?
Let me do that right now.
Yes, you do. You have access.
Okay, perfect.
And actually, just before we start, we just have a few house rules just with regards to, courtesy and respect. Like, again, everyone is open and entitled to their opinion, so share it. We're a community here, so always share best practices. We can learn from each other. And secondly, if you have noise in the background, just mute it. And if someone has a question or concern, just please listen and be attentive.
Yeah, so before we get into our presentation, we kind of like to just do like a little icebreaker just to test the waters to see where everybody's level is at when it comes to the topics that we're talking about. So we have a game called Never Have I Ever. So usually with that game, it involves drinking alcohol, but we don't do alcohol, we do water. So we just ask everybody if you could just get a cup of water, a jug, maybe. It depends on your knowledge of the topic today, which is credit. So we'll give everybody about a minute to get the
I gotta get my water. I'll be back.
All right. So we'll let everybody get their water. And please, if you could just turn on your camera, show your pearly white smiles. If you have children that are of age 18, going to hit 18 soon, we invite them to join as well, because this is vital information for them to know, especially if they're in grade 11 or 12 going into university. As they hit 18, who knocks on the door? The banks knock on the door. When the banks knock on the door, they're like, hey, here's a shiny little pretty credit card. You would want them to be prepared than to be unprepared. So if you guys are able, if you could just please turn on your cameras, we just invite everybody, just show their faces. This game's a fun game, and we like to see people who's actually drinking the water. But if you're unable to, we'll explain the rules once Craig gets back. Let me just find my notes here. All right. So once again, for those that just joined, just get a cup of water, maybe a jug, depends on your level of the questions that we're about to ask, just as an icebreaker, and then we're going to get into the presentation.
All right. Water. got my glass. All
All
right.
right, perfect. All right. Got some participants. All right, so the game's called Never Have I Ever, or Checks or Strikes, whichever you want to call it. So how it works is I'm going to say a series of statements or questions. So now if it applies to you, you do not have to drink water. If it doesn't apply to you, you have to drink the water. So like an example, I brushed my teeth today. Then you don't have to drink the water. If you didn't brush your teeth, you're drinking the water. So that's how the game's gonna go. All right.
If you're not brushing your teeth, come on, guys.
All right. And for those that are not on camera, if it doesn't apply to you, so if you are drinking water, just type 1 in the chat. If you're not drinking water, type 2, so that we know who's what. Okay. So Craig will keep an eye on the chat, and I'll try to keep an eye on the screen here. Move the thing here. All right. More faces. Perfect. All right. So the first first question is, I have made. Okay, I have made an impulse purchase on my credit card for something I didn't need. All right.
All
We
right.
got a few drinkers there. All right. All right. Next question. I know my credit score.
Oh, I know my credit score.
You'll be surprised. You got to ask the question sometimes, you know? Let's see here. Next statement is, I know when my credit starts to accumulate interest. My credit card.
No.
All right.
Look up if you don't know that.
Okay. Next statement. I know the 5 things that make up my credit score.
That's a good question.
I see some startled faces there. All right. Okay, so this one, it's either, if you know the answer, or I need either a check or a strike, and then we'll tell you which one is the correct one. My credit score is updated daily. Is that a check or is that a strike? Type it in the chat. My credit score is updated daily.
See some strikes up in there. Rick.
All right, Craig, let them know what the answer is.
So, yeah, so your credit score is not updated daily, just because that it all depends. Actually, all depends on your usage. So usually, what happens is your utilization and your usage. You'll actually know that maybe every quarter or every 6 months. That's when your that's when your credit is usually updated, because it takes a series of time for TransUnion or the other individuals to kind of see what your credit score is like. So what we like to say when it comes to checking your credit, if you guys want, check your credit on a monthly basis, just because, and there's a difference between checking your monthly credit and whether your credit's going to be updated daily. Checking your credit score on a monthly basis, if you're doing that, that allows you to alleviate fraud. So fraud, someone may be using your credit card you don't even know, and it just makes sure that it's a safety net for you guys. I check my credit score like maybe every 3 weeks. I have Credit Karma, so I like to check it just to make sure that there's no fraudulent stuff being used on my name. And plus, somebody out there has the exact same initials I do, so it tends to when I do stuff, I got to do things, any type of big purchases I'm doing, any type of real estate, I got to use an affidavit, because this person that has my name had totally messed me up. So I have to make sure that I always check it out and make sure that things are being done correctly.
Yeah.
Yep. And my final check or strike question. Pre-approvals will bring down your credit score. Check or strike? Pre-approvals will bring down your credit score. Is that a check or a strike? All right.
Some checks there.
All right. And the golden answer is pre-approvals will not bring down your credit score. So for those that said check, you will need to drink some water. And then we'll begin our presentation. Reason being why we use water is because water is something that's good for you and it flushes out the toxins in your body. And it's kind of like a reminder, like when you're drinking water, you want to think of your credit. That's how important your credit is, right? You want to treat your credit like it's water. You got to make sure you have it intact and all that good stuff. And pretty much the whole presentation is how to maintain it or build it, maintain it. And if you do have bad credit, don't worry, we can help you out with that as well. So I'm going to share my screen here.
So if you do get pre-approvals, snatch it.
Take it all day long.
Just make sure you know how to leverage the pre-approvals. That's all.
Yes, exactly. All right. So I'm going to share my screen here. So Craig, you monitor the chat and I will.
Yeah. That's fine.
Okay. All righty. Okay, I gotta make this a bit smaller now. Can't see everybody's faces, which is sad. All right, so credit 101. All right. So exercise. Okay, so before we move on, we're just gonna open up the floor. What is credit to you guys? Let us know either in the chat or unmute yourself and let us know what credit means to you. There's no right or wrong answers. We just want a level of engagement just to see where people's heads at. I see a hand up here. I don't have names, but I do see a hand here. You can unmute yourself.
Borrowed money.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
No, wait. Pauline was speaking. Pauline, if you don't mind, if you can unmute yourself again.
Oh, sorry. I was saying that credit could be also known as borrowed money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Chigozie, you can go on.
Okay, for me, I think it's money that I don't need, that I'm foisted on by the banks to entrap me.
I love that answer.
As well.
So you got leverage for funds, purchase, power, trust, creates more opportunity. Perfect. All amazing answers. So we just keep things simple. It's to get a product or service where you can pay now, or you get now and then you pay later. So credit, for example, Fido, Apple, Tesla, all these things you're literally using credit in order to get these things. Fido, if you want to get a phone and not have to pay them anything, they check your credit. Same thing with Apple, getting a brand new car, they all check your credit. So it's either money or goods or service. All their answers were correct. Yeah. So Craig, I'll let you explain this one.
Yeah, so we got on this slide, we have two examples, and we just want to give everybody just an understanding when one has excellent credit or one has poor credit. So what we did is we provided two examples, two scenarios here that you see on the screen, and we're just going to walk through it together just to give people an understanding of when you have excellent credit, what you're offered, or when you have poor credit, what you're not offered. So example one, a borrower with excellent credit score wants to request $10,000. The lender is certain that they will be paid in full on time. They grant the money at the interest rate of 10% because they know that you have excellent credit, they're going to more or less get the money back, right? The borrower pays $11,000 with interest. So $10,000 plus 10%, right? So example two, a borrower with poor credit wants the same amount, $10,000. However, the lender is uncertain about how frequent they will be able to pay, much less even pay it back. So when the creditors do see that, they either do one of two things. They either say no, or they're more likely to offer a higher interest rate as opposed to example one. So for this example, the borrower will pay 2,500 on top of the 10,000 just because they don't have a great credit score. So we just want to kind of bring this slide in so it gives everybody a visual and understanding of what good credit score can do and what bad credit score can do.
So how credit is calculated. Credit scores are designed to predict the likelihood that an individual will pay on their bills as agreed. Credit scores are only one of several pieces of information determined to determine your credit worthiness. Payment history, the amount of credit you're using, and the length of your credit history are factors included in calculating a credit score. So the question that we asked earlier, what the 5 things that make up your credit. So pretty much the 5, or what makes up your credit score, there's 5 areas, and the 2 major is your payment history. So what your payment history consists of is literally every company that reports to the credit bureau, they have a system of your payment history. So anybody that has Credit Karma, if you don't have Credit Karma, we invite you to download it. It's a free app. If you go into each credit section that you like, say credit card, for example, every month it'll tell you exactly what you did for that month. If you paid on time, if you're delinquent, if you're late, short, whatever it may be, they put a specific check mark or X in your file to let you know, to let creditors know exactly what your payment history is like. So if you have a late payment, they'll probably put like L, or if you missed a payment, they'll probably put D for delinquent. So you have used credit versus available credit. So that's pretty much if you ever heard the bank talk about your debt to credit ratio, it's pretty much how much credit you have that's available and how much you're using. So between the two of those, that's 65% of your credit score. So those two you want to be very careful with when building up your credit, or those are ones you want to watch very, very carefully. The length of your credit history. So if you had, say, a Rogers phone bill for like the last 10 years, that looks really good on your credit score. But if you only have, like, say, the store cards open for a year and then you're closing them, your credit history won't be that high, because you don't have something for them to fall back on to see how, or the length of time of how long that credit's been outstanding. Credit mixture is just a mixture of the different types of credits that you have. So whether it's a line of credit, a credit card, car loan, mortgage, that's what your credit mixture is made up of. New credit, so you opening up like a new credit card or a store card, that's what new credit falls under. One thing that we do want to mention is if you're getting offers from pretty much every bank, it's not the best idea to get all the credit cards from those banks, because if you do apply for a loan, they're going to say, hey, why do you have all these credit cards for? You don't need all these credit cards. They're going to be like, you probably only need like 2 at most. So if you have like 5, sometimes it can be not in your best interest to take all those credit cards. 6 benefits of having good credit. So one is low interest rate on credit cards. So some credit cards, I think Scotia at one time was offering about 11.99%. Usually they'll send it to you in the mail with the low interest rate based on you having a good credit score. Better chance of obtaining or increasing lines of credit. So once you do get a line of credit, if you're using it and your score is good, banks will usually offer you a pre-approval. Well, not a pre-approval, sorry, an increase on your line of credit. And it's less hassle for you to get these things. It's literally a phone call and it's like, hey, do I have any pre-approvals, or do I have any increases on my line of credits or credit cards? And they'll be like, yes, no, whatever it may be. But with a good credit score, you are more likely to get that versus someone that doesn't have a good credit score. You have more negotiating power. And that usually works for if you're shopping around, say, for a line of credit or even a car loan, and you have a very high score, you can negotiate with them because you are seen as someone that will pay back what you do owe. It's an easier approval for home purchases or investment properties. So for those that have gone through the process of purchasing a home, banks usually, you don't have to provide so much to banks when you have a good credit score. When you have, let's say, below 700, anywhere from 640 to 680, it's very hard to go through like one of the major banks to get a approval for a mortgage. Sometimes you have to go through a mortgage broker, and you're like almost jumping through hurdles just to get that mortgage. Getting approvals for cell phones without deposits. So lately, or not lately, but I think over the last couple of years, if your credit's not good, they're asking for a deposit. Reason being is cell phones are so high in price now, they want to make sure that it can secure something on them, on the phone that they're providing to you. Avoid deposits for big ticket purchases, usually cars, furniture. With the good credit score, you don't have to be putting down any money on those things. So for me, I would walk into a dealership, fill out the application. Oh, Mr. Chambers, your score was whatever. Your bank, your what's it? Your employment's steady, so we're okay with that. No money down is needed.
Head north on Montague Street toward Hill Avenue.
Oh, someone's driving.
In 500 meters, turn left onto
Keep
23rd
your eyes
Avenue.
on the road.
I can't mute.
That's fine.
Okay. Oof.
I'll go back one. Why is credit important? So why credit is important? Opening a bank account / business loans. If you're thinking of becoming an entrepreneur, such as ourselves, working for yourself, you must have good credit when approaching the bank for a loan. Again, and it's something when you're starting as a small business or, like I said, an entrepreneur. If your credit is not there, you can't utilize some of the loan programs or even the programs that the bank provide to jump on, because your credit is just not there. They're just not gonna, especially if your business is not established and you don't have good credit, it's just not a good look. Credit can impact where you live. If you don't have good credit, lenders, i.e. the bank, will consider your risky business, which may lead to obtaining a loan from a third party. And we all know when you're obtaining a loan from a third party, it's just the interest rates are so much more higher because they're taking a lot more risk with you. So as opposed to our example in the first slide, you know, you're trying to borrow $10,000 with good credit, they may give you 10%, but in, you know, if you don't have good credit and you're trying to borrow the same $10,000, they may charge you upwards between 25 and 30%. So that's just the difference. That's just the differences that we look at and why credit is important. So why is credit important? Continue. Having good credit can also work in your favor because you can leverage it. We mentioned that earlier in the call. Using your credit card to flip your money can prove to be profitable. Using credit for short-term investment opportunities, such as, you know, short-term loans. I've done it once or twice. I've done short-term loans. So individuals that I know that need money to close on a house, I've given the loan, have a contractual agreement statement drawn up, and I say, hey, I'm loaning you this amount of money to help you close. However, but I would like 5-10% back, depending on what it is, right? When you purchase big ticket items, credit is really important because if you want to purchase a car, you don't really have $30,000, $50,000 just sitting around. You most likely have to seek out a loan from the bank.
So we got a question. Does checking your credit score affect your credit score? No, it doesn't. So
no.
You can pull your so with Credit Karma, it's free, and Credit Karma pulls their data from TransUnion. Equifax, if you sign up for an account, you would have to pay monthly to get access to your credit score. But literally, you can press the refresh button as much as you want. It won't affect your credit score. It just shows that you looked into your score, which is, it's called a soft hit. So when you do a soft hit, anytime you hear the word or the term soft hit from anybody, it doesn't impact your credit score. They're just checking your score or just verifying whatever, but it doesn't impact your credit score. How to build a good credit score. Your financial decisions you make can impact the following: your credit score, your ability to get a job, a loan or a credit card, basic utilities and services, rent, an apartment, or lease a car. Good financial choices help lenders and businesses see you as low risk. You'll be more likely to receive financial opportunities, including higher credit limits and lower interest rates. It's funny, I only found out a couple of years ago that employment services actually look at your credit score when hiring you for a job. Like in the insurance industry, like I had a friend, she was applying for a job. She got her license and everything, but then when they seen her credit score, they're like, no, we can't hire you based on your credit score. So credit is something that you gotta like really treat as an extension of you. So it's like there's you and then there's your credit. And something that I learned at a very young age is always keep your credit to yourself. Like your credit is you, don't lend it out to anybody unless you really, really trust that person. Like if it's either your kids or whatever, but you still got to be careful with giving your credit out to somebody else, because the moment that your credit gets shot, it's a long process to build it back up. Credit is not something that you could just build up overnight. It takes time.
And just before we go, question for the floor. How many people have credit but just don't know how to utilize it? So you have credit, your score is pretty good, but you just don't know how to utilize it. You can either answer in the chat box or on the call.
I think for me, there's just more for me to learn how to use it in the best way. So I feel like I have some understanding, but I kind of ignore it type of thing. Like it's not like I have a good relationship per se with my credit. So yeah.
Suan said me. Not too sure how to use it. Okay.
Just want to get the gauge.
Yeah, if I may, I think from my perspective, recently I was listening to the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he did mention that assets are created by credit, by loans. And I was like, okay, so how can I take advantage of my good credit score to create assets, right? We delved into, opportunities for tax management and the likes, right? But I just figured out that I might need to like up my understanding of how best to utilize my good credit score. Yeah.
I'm gonna answer that question now because I will forget later. The best way to utilize your credit score or a good credit score is getting a line of credit. That is the best form of credit that you can obtain. Reason being is it has one of the lowest interest rates, and the interest, please write this down. The interest that you are charged on your line of credit is taxable. The interest on your line of credit is taxable. Reason being is because you're using the money to either for dividends, royalties, or to make money off of it. So you're allowed to claim the interest you're charged on your line of credit on your tax return. Craig, were you going to say something?
No. I'm just looking ahead.
All right, perfect. All right, so how to build a good credit score? Start early. As we mentioned earlier, 15%. This is 15% of your credit score. The length of your credit history is a key factor in determining your credit score. So for those that are hitting 17 or going to be 18 this year, next year, start early. As the sooner you get into the game, the longer your history, the more history you'll build up. For me, I had a Fido phone from when Fido probably just first came out. I kept that number and that line open for almost like, I think 10, maybe 15 years almost, where that just made my credit score look amazing because I had that one cell phone plan. What's it called? Yeah, another thing is start small. Stay within your means. If you can't afford it, don't take it. So if the bank offers you $5,000 credit card and you know you only make $2,500 a month, don't touch it, because you will be tempted to use that card and buy everything under the sun that you can think of with that credit card. I've seen people do it where they got a credit card more than what they make and they blow it on everything, and then they're saying to themselves, how am I going to pay this back? And then they're like, oh no, what do I do? And you have to remember, when you're using things on credit, after 21 days, so for those that have credit cards, after 21 days, that is when your interest starts to accumulate on your credit card. So you have a 21-day grace period to pay back your credit card before interest is being charged to. And if you can't pay back that interest, if you can't pay back before the 21-day start, that's when the interest starts to accumulate. And it compounds. Compound is the eighth wonder of the world. Those who know it make it. Those who don't, pay it. So if you don't understand how credit and compound interest works, it will be the enemy for you. Because for those that have credit cards, again, take a look at your credit card statement at the very back and see how long it will take you to pay off that credit card by only paying the minimum balance. You will be shocked with the number that you see on there. On a $4,000 credit card, that will outlast many people's lives. I think my credit card statement said on $4,000, it will take you 84 years by only paying the minimum payment. I'm only 37 right now. 84 years, that's going to outlive me. So it's very scary. You have to like really watch these things when you're looking at your credit card statement. So start small. If the bank offers you 1,000 and you know you can only manage 500, only take 500. So for kids, is a cell phone the best?
I was gonna wait till you went to the last one, but that's fine. I was gonna wait till you went to the last.
Okay, I'll just say that one and then you can answer it. Yeah, pay bills on time. If you're somebody that forgets often to pay bills, automate it. Automating is your best friend. We have to utilize technology to our advantage. It's there to make our lives easier, not harder. So one thing that you can do is you either automate it on the credit card and then you pay your credit card once a month. That's one bill you have to do. Or you do it directly from your bank account. All right, this is how much money I come in. Take out let the bills automate on such and such day. Or even call whoever you're paying your bills to and be like, hey, can you take out the bill on this date and set it for automatic payment? Or you just know that you need XYZ in your bank account to pay this bill on this day. Like for me, my life insurance, I have a bunch of different policies and I set them all different times. I specifically said to my advisor, please put this all on the 7th. Reason being is I can't keep track of XYZ on this date, that date, that date. Just put it all on this one date. It makes my life easier. So just automate your bills, pay bills on time. And Craig, you can answer the question now.
Sure. Yes, so with regards to, so there's a question here. So for kids, is a cell phone the best option? Are there any other options to build credit in your late teens? So usually for a cell phone, and Dean mentioned this, it will be a good start to open a phone line, because usually if you have a phone number, it's usually going to stick, well, unless something changes, you usually have your phone number for a long time, right? So I had my number for over 10 years, right? And again, as mentioned before, when creditors see that history, it only helps you positively as opposed to getting a phone line and then closing it. Or every time you get a phone, you close a credit history. So it's like the creditors are not seeing that you build credit, right? Meanwhile, if you start early, as Dean mentioned, you can have that phone number with that company over a period of 5 to 10 years. And it only, as long as you're making your payments on time, it's a positive outlook on your credit.
To also add to that, I did some research. We're not as fortunate as Americans are, where you can add authorized users to your card and they get the benefits of your credit. I've called several banks and they told me no, it doesn't help with their credit. So you can, this is kind of scary, but doesn't make sense at the same time. I don't know why banks even do this. You can add children upwards of the age of 13 plus to your credit card and make them an authorized user. Kind of scary. However, you can teach some discipline on how to use a credit card properly before they hit the age of 18. You can give them a card with, say you have a $500 credit card. That's something that you can manage, you can monitor or whatever. You can start with that. And I think RBC has something called, I can't remember the name, but they have a program where you can allow kids to use like their bank cards or whatever and to budget and stuff. And it's like a simulator as to them having their access to their own credit or whatever. I think it's RBC. You'd have to look on their website to find out more information about that. But yes, you can add a child age 13 plus to your credit card as an authorized user. However, you got to make sure that they're utilizing it correctly, but it won't build their credit score, unfortunately, in Canada. So to continue on with building a good credit score, apply for store credit or credit cards. So Leon's or Apple. I'm not sure if Best Buy still has a card. Pay your balance in full each month and keep your balance low. Rule of thumb with a credit card or credit limit, only use 30% of your limit. It just makes you look that much better in the eyes of creditors, Equifax, all those reporting centers, if you're only using 30%. So if you have $1,000 credit card, only use $300 of that credit card. it kind of, and it also helps you. It helps you with discipline, because sometimes when you have that full balance, you just kind of say, all right, I'll pay it back and blah blah blah, and then one thing leads to another, and then you have like $1,000 credit card outstanding credit card bill. So only use 30%. Act as if $1,000 credit card, you only have $300, and you'll be in the best position possible with that. If you don't qualify for a credit card, you can get a open secured credit card. Most common one is Capital One. So Capital One, you can put $200-300 onto the card of your money, and then you can use it as credit. Over time, it will help build your credit back up. So then now if you go to like the big banks, then you can get the credit card. Usually what I say is to people that are starting out, go Capital One, then PC Financial is usually the next best one that you can get, and then go to the major banks to get a credit card. Also, when signing up for credit cards, make sure that they're reporting to the major credit bureaus, Equifax and TransUnion. I kind of stick with more Equifax because Equifax is the main player that a lot of companies look at. You have 1, 2 here, there that use TransUnion. Between Equifax and TransUnion, they do not report the same way. So keep that in mind as well. Also, you can have someone co-sign on your account or installment loan as well to build good credit.
Yeah, and another way, just before we move forward, another thing that you can use to build credit, like I like using credit like a game. So the points, so I have a credit card in which I get points while I use. I think it's $2 every purchase, every dollar purchase, right? So I like to accumulate the points, and then at the end of the month, I pay my credit card back, and then I use those points towards, flights, air fryers, electronics, technology. There's a whole bunch of things that you can kind of pick up. You can pick up from your credit card manufacturer to gain benefits from using it. So I'm a points guy. I like to use it for points.
Dale said he wanted to share some information what a line of credit could be used for. If you would like to unmute yourself. Dale? I'm not sure.
He's still muted. Maybe he's having trouble.
Okay. All right. So we'll come back to
Come
you.
back to him. Yeah.
All right. So for those that do have a good credit score, how to maintain a good credit score. Monitor your payment history. Every so often, I check on Credit Karma to just make sure. Sometimes I forget myself that I paid a bill. So I just go and check just to make sure that everybody's been paid and no issues. I usually don't pay on the due date. I pay before the due date, as a lot of companies will say, oh, it takes us 3 to 5 business days to get your payment. So never try to avoid paying on the due date. Pay a couple of days before, just to give yourself that breathing room. If there's any discrepancies, you can follow up with them like, hey, I sent this payment on 3-4 days ago. What happened? Maintain a low balance to have a low debt to credit ratio. Don't close old accounts. Lowering your available credit limit will lower your credit score, and you'll lose your credit history. So for me, I learned this the other day from one of the bank advisors, where he's like, yeah, don't close your card, because if you have, say, 10,000, like say you have 2 cards, and the between the 2 of them it's 10,000, and now you reduce, if you get rid of one and now you have 5,000, but you had a balance of 5,000, now your debt to credit ratio is maxed out. So it's good to keep both credit cards still, even if you're not using the other one. Use it every so often just to keep it active, but don't close it, because it will stop your history, and it will also reduce how much you have in available credit. Review your credit report regularly. Review your credit report regularly. Review for any unauthorized activity and errors, and report issues immediately. So for me, I think there was one time one of my credit cards, I think there was a charge that I didn't see. Right away, I called the bank and like, hey, I didn't do this, blah, 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 look into this. Also, the reporting center, I'll be like, this is not something that should be on there, please remove. Did whatever they asked me to do, whether it was a letter or showed them history of my statements, sent it in, got it removed. Limit the number of credit inquiries. A lot of people like to do this when it comes to cars or car loans. where they don't like what the person has presented to them, and then they go to another dealership. You are affecting your credit score. It's a big impact on your credit score because it's literally you're shopping your credit around, and banks don't like that. They're gonna see it, and banks are not gonna like it. So you could have probably had a approval from TD, and then you went to another dealership, and now they went to Scotia, RBC, BMO, all those accounts, and then you say, you know what, I'm gonna stick with TD because they gave me the best rate. TD will say, you know what, no, we don't want to take you anymore. Why are you shopping around? Why are you shopping around for credit? For the credits, what's the word? The interest rate. So banks don't like to see that. So if you do that, you're literally taking hits from 4-5 banks, which now in turn lowers your credit score. So if you're at like a 680 and now that brought you down to like a 660, I think it is, you literally went from good to having fair credit. So you kind of want to avoid those type of things.
Hey, Dean, just before you go
Yeah.
quickly, we just want to take some questions. I don't want people to lose their train of thought. So
Okay.
I believe there are questions from Akin and Pauline.
Mhm.
And if I mispronounce your name, just let me know.
Uh,
I
You
think
guys
it's just Pauline and Ma'at.
Okay, it's Pauline. Hi, everyone. Okay, so my question is, I don't know if it's a myth or a rumor or a fact. So if let's say I spent today and I paid back my credit card like the same day, does that affect my credit score?
so you use it today, pay. No, it would. Well, it would just be seen as a payment, right? So it's literally you used it and then you paid it back. So it wouldn't really. It doesn't affect it in a bad way. So you
Yeah.
kind of just pay it and then think. So that's kind of something that we tell people to use to help increase their credit score. But we say give it a bit of breathing room. Give it like a week before paying back your actual credit card, so that it just because sometimes if you pay back if you make the payment the same day that you use the card, your payment can sometimes be ahead of the actual use of the card. So then it wouldn't really show that you are utilizing the card, right? Or you made that payment. So we usually say let the payment that not the
Yeah.
payment, the use of the card post to your
Post
credit
the
card and then make the payment. So that now it looked like you used it, you paid it. You used it, you paid it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. This
No problem.
cleared this room that was going on, so thank you.
No problem. What are the other automatic payments? Automatic payments are prone. Oh, yep. Someone.
Okay, I have a question. Yes, sorry, it's Matt. So my question is, first before I get into my question, so I was always told that having a cell phone or paying off your cell phone really doesn't affect your credit score. So I'm really bad at paying my cell phone bill, but I'm really good at paying my credit card bill. So how would that affect me, my credit score? And for example, if I wanted to buy a house now, how would the banks look at my credit score? Like, would they look at okay, she's not really good at paying her cell phone, but she pays her credit card before time.
That's actually a good question, because a few people have come to me because honestly, for my experience, when it comes to my credit card and my phone bill, I've never seen it on Equifax or TransUnion, my phone bill, like saying that it's in good standing. I've never seen it. But then some people, they have it on their credit report and it comes up all the time, even if they do pay it on time. So I'm not quite sure if it does make a difference or not, because like I said, for me, when I make a big purchase, or whether it be real estate, property, anything like that, it's not a factor. And I don't know if it's not a factor because I don't automate my phone bill. I pay it as I go because sometimes it changes. And I may be 1 or 2 days late, but it's not I don't see it as being a major impact, because it never came up on my credit score. So I don't know if it's a situation in which that you're not paying it and it's delinquent and it's gone to collections. That's an entirely different story, because now that particular transaction has gone to collections, and they will see that. So is it a situation in which that when you don't, do you pay your phone bill? Is it just that you don't pay your phone bill on time?
Yeah, that's what it is. So they always have to send me reminders, you forgot to pay your phone bill or something like that. So I never paid on time.
Okay, so the best suggestion for that is, in order to ensure that this doesn't come up on your credit bureau, because like I said, it could be indecisive depending on what creditors are looking for, I would say just automate it. Because if you automate it, then it takes away from getting a reminder first. And then secondly, you don't have to worry about it. It comes out every month at that time, right? So that's what I would suggest to you, because it's always, I always say it's better to over communicate than under communicate. So it's always good to make sure something is paid, as opposed to waiting for a reminder or waiting for it to get to collections. That's what I could say with regards to that.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
To add to that, with paying your cell phone bills, some companies are lenient where they won't report you depending on the amount or depending on when you pay. So with Credit Karma, they use, or is it Credit Karma or Equifax? On there, I'll tell you the payment history as to how often you pay within a certain time frame. So 0 to 30, 31 to 60, they'll put you in different brackets. So credit card is not a big major player. However, or not credit card, sorry, your cell phone. However, it's affecting your credit, your payment history. So your payment history, like say if it was 10 out of 10, you'd probably be getting 6 out of 10 as to someone that's paying it on time, getting 10 out of 10. So it'll just affect your credit score a bit because it's more so in the payment history side of things.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Were there more questions in the chat, Craig?
Some just came in. Sorry, some just came in. I'm reading my. Oh, it was just more of a suggestion by Rock, and he makes a good suggestion. Automating my phone bill helps keep me from going over my limit for some reason, and that's smart, because if you know at the end of the day it's automated, the likelihood of you going over your data plan is less likely, because you know at the end of the day it's coming out whether you like it or not. So that's actually a good tactic to use to ensure that you don't go over your data plan. Thanks for that, Rock.
Underutilization, no, it won't negatively impact your credit score. The less you're using, the better your debt to credit ratio is. If there's any more questions, feel free to shoot them in the chat. Craig, if you see any hands up, just let me know, because my thing, I can't see everybody.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking.
Okay, so this one is done.
I have a question.
Shoot.
If you've had a couple of things on your collections or have gone into collections and have now fallen off or been taken care of, and it's no longer on your score, can they still go back and see that if you're trying to purchase a home or something like that?
So first of all, what do you mean by fallen off or disappeared? Did you pay it off, or like what do you mean by that? So I just have a clear understanding.
I have settled and paid off. They've promised to take it off of my score, and then one of them, I think it was over like 7 years and came off like 2 months ago.
So rule of thumb, usually if you settle any type of collections over the phone, get it in writing. Ask them to send you an email or a letterhead saying that I have paid this amount off, we have settled X, Y, and Z. So the moment that you have that in writing, then you can use it to leverage you, because sometimes they may say, hey, you didn't pay that. Then you say, no, I did pay it. And you bring up your letter. Simple, right? And then you are correct. Over a period of time, and I believe it's 7 years, it usually falls off.
Okay, so then there's no way that they can go back.
Well, if it's fallen off, they won't see it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
So I have another quick question. Is that the same for if you had claimed bankruptcy? Like, so
After
if you
7 years,
if you claim bankruptcy and you're repairing your credit, you have now a MasterCard and you're doing good at paying it. What happens after, like after a certain amount of years? Does it get knocked off as well, or can they still see that you had claimed bankruptcy?
it won't be you won't be affected by it after 7 years.
7
If
years.
the
Okay.
second one, it will stay on there. I believe it's for 10 years on a second bankruptcy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Gregory had a statement. He said, not entirely true. They will see it on your credit. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that, Gregory?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you.
It still stays on your credit. It's there in the background. Anytime you go, the creditor will check your history for your, like you said earlier, your billing history since you're 18. They see all your history, never really goes away. Using it against you, no, but it never go away.
Mm.
So after 7 years, they can't use it against you, but they'll still see it.
Gotcha. Thank you for that, Gregory.
Yeah.
All right, so for those that want to know how to rebuild your credit, so here are a few things for you. So review your credit report. Regularly review your report to see if there's any unauthorized activity or errors, and report issues immediately. So same thing that we're saying with good credit or maintaining credit. Always review your report on a regular basis. Again, Credit Karma is free. You can download that, keep track of your score on a monthly basis. Craig does it about every 3 weeks just to make sure everything's intact. Create a plan when it comes to repaying your debt that you owe. We say start with the smallest debt and use the snowball effect. So literally start with the smallest debt first and pay that off. Pay more to that one versus your other debt that you're paying off. And as you are paying off debt on a month-to-month basis, as one falls off, the amount that you're paying for that debt now carries over to the next one. And gradually it just gets bigger and bigger as to the amount that you're paying towards your debt, to the point where there's no more debt after X amount of time that you have set to pay off your debt. Also, develop a time frame and a budget for paying off your current debt. Contact all creditors. If possible, set up payment plans. What we tell people is negotiate, especially when it's sent to collection, but your debt, pennies on the dollar. So they're open to anything. So what we usually tell people to do is call them, find out how much they have for that you owe them. And we usually say kind of play the game. So play fool to catch wise, like, oh, how much I owe. If I do a payment plan, how much can I pay? And then say, oh, if I was to pay everything today, what's the best that you could do for me? They will offer anywhere from 40 to 50% off of your debt. And if you do have that money available, take that offer, pay it off as soon as possible. But make sure you get all this in writing, as Craig said. Say, hey, can you send me an email so that I have record of this? And when I do pay this off, are you guys going to send a letter to Equifax saying that this has been paid, and are you going to mail me one as well so I have for my copy? You want to make sure document everything, because these guys are very, very nasty and evil. They'll tell you one thing and then you hang up the phone and then they'll do a whole different thing. We've had somebody literally go through, they paid off their debt and they had to go months of waiting to get their letter before they can get the letter. We had to literally threaten them that we're going to go to the government of Canada, I forget the department name, to be like, hey, these guys are not treating the case as how they should be. And within a matter of 5 minutes, they sent her the letter and she was able to update her credit score. Consider debt consolidation if all else fails, or bank balance transfers from lower credit card interest rates to higher credit card interest rates. Last year during the pandemic, I think almost every bank was giving out balance transfers. That is like one of the best things that you could do, where you literally will get 12 months where you're paying maybe 1% interest versus paying 19-24% interest. if you have a credit card that has $5,000 sitting there and you can do a balance transfer to a card that has $10,000, put it over there. You're going to be saving yourself on the interest. You paying off that debt is also a form of investment. Reason being is you're saving on the interest that you're not paying to the credit card company. Consumer proposal. If all else fails, consumer proposal. Bankruptcy is a no-no for us. We try to keep people away from bankruptcy because as Gregory said, it will remain on your file. But if you got to do what you have to do, right? So consumer proposal, it's your best bet. But if bankruptcy, like if all else fails and you have to, then that's what you're gonna have to do. But we kind of just say stay away from the bankruptcies. Consumer proposal, it's one step above bankruptcy. So if there are companies out there that will work with you to do consumer proposals, so try to go that route before even thinking of bankruptcy.
May I interrupt you a little bit on that consumer proposal?
Sure.
Consumer proposal sometimes is worse than bankruptcy. Because they said they drop off your credit after 3 years. However, most people don't understand that if they do a proposal for you and it takes 4 to 5 years to pay it off, right? So you're on a 5-year payment because that's what your budget could. It's 3 years after your final payment.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So you end up doing an 8-year stint rather than bankruptcy, which is 6 with Equifax, 7 with TransUnion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, avoid bankruptcy at all costs, but
yeah.
The consumer proposal, when you back up to say call creditors, you can avoid consumer proposal if you're willing to call your creditors yourself and make the deal, because that's all the people who are doing it for you. They're calling and they're negotiating, but they're not negotiating in your best interest. If they negotiate half the payment, say owed 1,000 and they negotiate 500 plus their fees, so you're paying 700.
Yeah.
If you had made the call yourself, you'd only be paying 500.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely correct.
We tell our clients all the time, you got to do the legwork, because if you don't, it ain't gonna work.
And after you do the legwork,
pardon?
Sorry, I was gonna say, what about the Capital One credit card?
In regards to what?
Does that help build your credit?
Yes, that helps you build your credit. When building back up your credit, that's usually one of the only credit cards that will, or one of the only institutions that will allow you to get a credit card. So that's where we usually tell people to start. $200 to $300 where you're putting on the card, and now you're using your own money to help build back up your credit. So within a year's time, you should be in a better position than try to apply for another credit card like PC Financial. They're pretty good with approving people.
So how to rebuild your credit score. So this is something that, we've been discussing throughout the call. Paying your bills on time or automate it. After a while, it will positively impact your credit score and credit worthiness. Use caution when closing accounts. It may negatively impact your credit score by shortening your credit history or decreasing your available credit. We discussed that, making sure if you have a credit line that's open, don't be so quick to close it. Leave it there because it is credit history, and it will positively impact your credit score. Plan ahead for major purchases. High credit scores provide borrowers with lower interest rates and higher credit limits. It takes at least 6 months to improve your credit score, so plan ahead when you intend to purchase a home, vehicle, or a big ticket item. How to build a good credit score. Oh, we went through this already. Dean, this came back.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. So tips to fix your credit. If your credit is not so great, we're just going to provide a few more tactics to pay down debt and raise your score. So 5, each week use a credit card to buy only the things you already have money for. So at the end of the week, you pay it off quickly and it shows that you're being consistent. So example, if you buy groceries, purchase it on Monday, pay down the balance on Sunday. So it's something that I do. So I use my credit card because I collect points, I grocery shop, I buy gas, I buy dinner, and at the end of the month, I pay it back.
So some shocking facts. 53% of Canadians are currently being faced with the inability to pay debt. Individuals are $200 or less away from not being able to pay their monthly bills. 25% took more debt during the pandemic. So this is some facts that I'm going to just share with you when it just comes to borrowing money using credit. As we were saying in the first slide, start small. Don't take more than you can handle. A lot of people, it's like, as banks are just giving people stuff, it's like, if you can't manage it, just reduce or don't accept what the banks are giving you. Banks are in the game of giving you money so that they can charge you interest. It's all about it's a numbers game for them, right? The more they lend out, the more money they're going to be collecting based off of people borrowing their money.
Yep. And like I said, 53% it's crazy because that's half of the population. Like if you really think about it, 53%. Like so it's just crazy that a lot of us are in a situation in which that, we're either living paycheck to paycheck or we're just $200 away from not paying our bills.
So that concludes our presentation. We'd like to thank everybody for being here. So as we mentioned earlier, this is the book that me and Craig wrote called Don't Be a Wastie, the Financial Literacy Guide. If you want to stay in contact with us or you have any questions for us, here's our email address, info@checksoverstrikes.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, checksoverstrikes, or check us out on our website, checksoverstrikes.com. And as a gift to everybody that's on the call today and the members of Pamoja, we're offering 20% discount on our online course with the promo code Pamoja. And the floor is open for anybody that has questions for us or in the chat. Line of credit to fund the down payment. So to fund the down payment. So for me, I used it for a down payment on a pre-construction, and I was able to the interest that I was being charged, I just claimed that back on my taxes. And then when I was able to close on the property, I took out some additional money to pay back that line of credit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any more questions? Okay, no hands are up. All right, thank you so much, guys. Everyone, please make sure that you support and collect your 20% off. Go ahead and register for the course. I also have another question. Is your book on Amazon?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Nice. Good.
But if you're in the vicinity in the GTA, we like to do face-to-face deliveries.
Okay.
We would deliver the book to you, tell you hi, maybe take a picture with you. And
I think she's in Ghana.
No, I know that. I know that.
My husband's in Ontario, so he can connect.
Yeah, for people that's why I said I made it clear for people that are in GTA, because
yeah, for
I'm
sure.
going to Ghana anytime soon.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, we had a question. Does your company help with lines of credit applications? It's something that we most definitely can support you on. We've had helped some of our one-on-one clients get a line of credit, and they just didn't know about going to get one. And they just thought, yes, my credit was good, but how do I apply for one? How do I get the bank to see that I'm worthy of a line of credit? So again, it was a moment in time during the pandemic that the bank was giving out a lot of lines of credit. So it's just about getting in contact with the right individuals at the bank and showing your credit worthiness to get that line of credit.
Is there another question? Does your company? Okay, so I have another question for entrepreneurs, because with you guys being entrepreneurs, you would know that like sometimes it can be difficult for you to get credit because they'll, I don't know, depending on what the banks ask you for, sometimes it can be hard. So what's your advice for those who are contractors or entrepreneurs?
Grants, grants, grants. Ontario gives a lot of grants. And some people may say, okay, well, where do I start with a grant? So usually what happens is when you're going for a grant, depending on what type of grant you're going for, it just depends on keywords you put in your grant proposal or your application. And a lot of people like to hire grant writers because they just don't know what to say to get the grant. And there's grant writers out there that you can hire that know the exact information that the individuals are looking for when giving a grant. And there are some grants that are out there right now that you just need to go online and they ask you a few questions about your company. And they may also ask you why you feel, why do you need the money and what you're going to do with the money. They ask you very straightforward questions. And then they ask you, maybe like a project overview statement as to, what your initiative is, how does your initiative bring in money? And if you're able to answer those questions to the best of your ability and they're satisfied with it, you can get a grant that way.
Thank you. All right. I think that's it. No more in the chat. Any final questions? Okay, so for the members, you guys will be able to access this recording. If you're not a member and you're interested and want to find out more information, or you're interested in becoming a member, info@pcif.ca. You guys, follow social media, PCIF, but also checks over strikes.
Yeah, we just finished a 12-week savings challenge, and we consistently every Friday we're talking about savings and ensuring that you're able to save 3 to 6 months of your expenses just in case anything that was to happen. So we just finished a savings challenge. It was $84 a week, and we have it on our Instagram. So if anybody wants to go back and take a look at the last 12 weeks, you could take a look at our videos and get caught up that way.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, guys. We really, really appreciate your time, appreciate your information, and everything that you're doing for the community. Big up yourself. Well done.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, take care. Have an awesome week, guys.
Thank you. You too.
All right, bye-bye.